Don't you love having a stylist? Not having to think about what to wear, letting someone else do all the shopping, the pulling, the fitting, the accessorizing, while you just stand there and all you have to do is look pretty. Easy for you, but not necessarily easy for them. No wonder why stylists used to work in relative anonymity in the shadows, rarely getting credit or shout-outs. These days, however, stylists have become known in their own right, as they should, since the red carpet has become the foremost selling tool for high-end fashion. But stylists are not just clothes gatherers. They are also image makers, designer accomplices, and part-time psychologists. Of course, their success is due to savvy taste and great relationships. But perhaps even more importantly, the bond they create with their clients is enhanced by trust. If she had the time and lived on the East Coast instead of Santa Monica, I'd be happy to let Elizabeth Stewart outfit me every day and night, whether I was going to a gala or grocery shopping at Whole Foods. I'm not the only one who admires her. Her client roster is gloriously impressive. Maybe you've heard of some of these women. Julia Roberts, Kate Blanchett, Sandra Bullock, Viola Davis, Rebel Wilson, Amanda Seyfried. In fact, the first 4 stars actually qualify as happy grown-ups, and actually so does Elizabeth. Where they go, Elizabeth goes. And that's because she instinctually knows something, in fact, a lot of things, that these women need to know to feel good or even great about themselves. And not for nothing, but Elizabeth is also as charming, discreet, and direct as she is smart. So I brought her onto the Happy Grown Up podcast so she can share her insight and wisdom so that maybe we can all look nearly as swelligant as the women that she dresses.
Swelligant?
Yes. Yes.
Did you just coin a new word? I like that.
That's my new word.
Swelligant.
If you guys are listening now because you want to hear gossip about all these people, you're out of luck because that's not why we're here. The reason why we are here is because what Elizabeth is great at is bringing out the individuality of all of these people. And many of these people are happy grown-ups. In other words, they're over 50. So I think what's key here is helping Elizabeth to help us discover what it is about people that you focus on. How do you determine what is that special something that a person has?
Well, thanks for pointing out that I focus on their individuality because I do think that's a huge part of my job. I have a really wide range of clients and I work with each of them in a really different way. And I want to bring out their individuality and I want to bring out their style essence. I'm just the one who has the time to do it and the knowledge of the sort of fashion world. But otherwise, I want to channel what they would do if they had the time and the knowledge.
For me, these are some of the best dressed people on the red carpet. And yes, I am very prejudiced because I think Elizabeth is smashing, both personally and professionally. But also it's because the clothing, the outfit, the presence of these people, the clothes are not interchangeable because the people are not interchangeable.
I think that's exactly right. And, without giving away too many secrets and talking too much about their clients, it really does start with them. I'm just one ingredient, but it's really all about them. I think my over 50 clients in particular are really sort of special, spectacular people, Julia, Kate, and Sandy. And obviously they're full-on magic without me. But so it's really just sort of channeling it. It's almost like if you have this is a crazy analogy, but if you go find a great piece of a great roast at the butcher, it's like, I don't know, it's how you cook it. I don't know, it's how you put it together.
Like in our lives, in everybody's life, you do have red carpet moments. Whether it's a wedding you're going to, a bar mitzvah, or a Christmas party. When you look in the mirror and see you, what gets you excited about that person?
It's not my clothes, that's for sure. Work excites me, having a sense of purpose and something to do with my life. That's what's so funny about doing what I do and what I do for other people. For myself, clothes are definitely more utilitarian. I love them, but I don't want to think about it in the morning. It's why in the summer I wear dresses because it's literally one piece. I throw it on and then I'm done. It's why I stick to flats because I want to be comfortable. I absolutely am passionate about clothes, but it's really more for other people because, again, they're the ones who have the magic to sort of bring the clothes that I love to life. They serve a different purpose for me.
Youth has a great advantage of a body that's more malleable. I think as you get older, women tend to be hard on themselves. They're unkind. Look, I worked at InStyle for 24 years. I listened to it. And it's just became a litany of inferiority. How do you stop that? And how do you turn it the other way around and focus on what makes me unique?
I think good mental health is required and parents who raised you well. I see, obviously, I work with all these beautiful women, but if you really break it down and look at them, often it really just is that light that comes from within, and it's that confidence. And it's really, if you feel beautiful, you absolutely 100% look more beautiful. So I think it's finding that light and not falling prey to the world of social media and compare and despair and all that. I think that's the difference. And that's why when people think, why her, not me? And it's often that. It's just, it literally is what's inside.
Viola Davis has an amazing presence. And, like I'm mad about her. I wouldn't call her a classically beautiful woman, but when you see her in person, you can't miss her. There's something there. Like, what is it that you work with there that brings out that distinction in that woman?
Well, it's most certainly not me. I mean, in any of these cases, she is an incredibly powerful, incredibly smart, incredibly special person, and that just comes out. I mean, she has a beautiful soul, and when we dress her up, it's like, again, it's just you see the elements before it's all put together on her, and it's like, okay, a dress, whatever. It just, she brings the magic. And you don't have to be a famous actress to bring that magic. It's just she has got that within her.
But how do we get to that beautiful soul? How do we get, I'm not saying the clothes don't matter, but the clothes come last.
I'm so glad you just said that. It's like you have to love yourself. That's the most important thing. And if you don't love yourself, analyze why and do whatever the hell it takes to love yourself. I think that's a huge part of it.
Now, in terms of what you said before, you started as a magazine editor. I think in another place in time, you would have stayed a magazine editor.
Yes.
That was just a certain cultures that once you found your profession, you dug your heels in and you went forward. You could have been a magazine editor out here.
I always want to be in the center of what things are happening. Fashion is not central here at all.
True.
So two things happened. I moved here and moved out because of I moved out here because of Rob, but also the magazine world started in the context of fashion getting less powerful. I hate to use that word, but less powerful, while the world of celebrity got much more powerful. And then also social media came along, and suddenly everybody had their own platform. So you no longer needed a magazine to have a platform.
But what made you think that you could find your place within this?
I rode the wave. I was the luckiest person in the world, combined with hard work and my expertise. So I moved out here. I kept working for the New York Times. In the meantime, celebrities started being on covers instead of models. So I started meeting celebrities, and that's how I met Callista Flockhart, who's my first client. I forgot to mention her, by the way. She's my first client, and still work with her to this day and love her. So she was my first celebrity, and then it just went from there. And then this world exploded, and here I am.
But what gave you the confidence to say, you know what? I'm going to be good at this, or I am good at this? How do you know?
It didn't happen that quickly. First of all, I've always worked my ass off. I'm sorry to use that word. So I already had been successful in the magazine world. And whatever you say about me, I mean, I have confidence. I don't think you can work in this business without confidence because you get so much rejection and it's just so hard and you're just basically a slave to so many different people. But I think that's how I do it. I really do think I know everything, as one person I work with always says.
But it's funny. Well, I'm going back to that young lady who was out in the front again, who said one of the questions she asked me. She goes, "Well, you've done all these different things in your life." She said, "Now you're doing something else." She goes, "How do you handle rejection?" And I said, "It's just knowing it's always going to be there."
Absolutely. And I'll tell you a reason I think you and I can handle rejection is we have a really great home base. That's why I can work in this business, because I have Rob at home and my family, and I know they're always going to be there, knock on wood.
Yeah.
And so I can just leave it behind, because it's a tough world. Fashion and the world of Hollywood is definitely tough.
I think sometimes people they have there's a cut. It's like church and state. I don't want my work life to affect my home life. I don't want my home life to affect my work life. But the reality is they are inseparable. How you feel about yourself at home is going to affect how you feel about yourself at work.
Yeah, you got to keep all the elements going, which means, I'll tell you a pact I made with myself recently.
Yes.
As a post 50. I work a lot and I travel a lot, and I decided I did not want to let any of my friendships suffer. And so it even, to be perfectly honest, affected today because we've known each other for many years.
Right.
And it's the last prep day before the Globes, because the holidays are in between. And I'm super busy today. But I was going to be here for you by hook or by crook because that's part of my new pact.
But I think you brought up another point about appearance and pride, and going back to that word of confidence, is that people, I think, go looking in the wrong places for confidence, like they go looking for it in Neiman Marcus.
Yeah. Well, I think you can find a little bit in Neiman Marcus. If you find a suit or a dress that makes you feel really good and a lot better than you normally look. I have some clothes like that. I have this one jumpsuit that I got at Decades that whenever I put it on, it's like, damn, this looks pretty darn good. And it's my go-to when I need that extra bit of confidence.
For someone who is older, male or female, I think everybody has the ability to not just walk into a room, but to make an entrance. What are the things that can help you do that as you get older?
Pieces like that fit you in a fantastic way. And a huge thing, I think, is getting over fear. One of the things that comes up a lot in my work is I have a new client who only likes tiny earrings. And it just, you know what? The world is not going to fall apart if you wear a bigger earring. And she did. So the first time she went, a slightly bigger earring, then a slightly bigger one. And then you realize that people aren't going to stare at you jaw open if you wear the fuchsia dress instead of the black dress. Mm-hmm. And if you can, definitely go for the fuchsia dress. It's so much more fun and people will love it and it's happy. It's just, that's a big thing. It's just going for it and getting over your, what's that word? Getting
fear?
Over your
fear
yourself? And your getting over yourself.
No, I think
just the things that you're stuck on. Like recently, I can't show my arms.
But don't you think most women have that kind of sort of, not, I guess the word's not inferiority, but sort of trepidation or nervousness about being judged as they get older?
Yes. But I hate getting into that trap of negative. Like, I can't stand the social media culture now where it's just like, no matter what anybody does or somebody commenting, why are you doing that? Why aren't you doing this? Or whatever they're saying.
Well, I think especially when people are older and they are more self-conscious about what they have, I think it's a tough thing when older people do go on social media and there is so much commentary. I think it scares women. I think it scares men too. But I think it scares women, and I think it takes away their confidence in making choices.
Absolutely. Social media, when people take the comments seriously, it drives me crazy. It's easy for me to say, obviously, but it just, how can you take these? Who are these people who make these negative comments on social media? I do not believe they're reflective of the population. I just don't.
No, they're people sitting home in their underwear who basically can get away with murder because you can't get them and you can't touch them.
The reality is, if you want to do yoga but you're not great at it, or you want to do spin class but you don't own a Peloton, or things, nobody's really looking at you.
No one's really looking at you. It's the best thing about not being a celebrity. Which I think everything's great about not being a celebrity, to be honest. I wouldn't want to be one, but I always love that I don't need to worry. I can wear whatever I want, low-key or fancy or whatever. People aren't really looking at me. And it's freedom.
When it's your turn to get dressed up, what is it you gravitate towards? Like if you're packing, you're going on a vacation, whatever, what are the 5 pieces you will immediately put in that suitcase?
I will put a Saint Laurent blazer, for sure. I always bring that. I have a Chloe blazer with gold buttons that I wear. That's another thing I wear nonstop. I take it every time I go to Paris. And I was taking it with a pair of these really wide white denim jeans that I left behind at the Bristol.
Oops.
Which is where I'm staying this time. And I'm going to really beg them to see if they have them somewhere.
What else?
Okay. It's so boring, but a white blouse. There's this non-fashion brand called Frank and Eileen that I love because they're thick, so I don't have to wear a bra underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
And you also can throw them in the wash. Because all my fantastic, fabulous, Gucci, whatever blouses, you have to dry clean, which is so boring. and be precious with.
I
And
was going to say, they're fragile. That's it. The
they're
problem is,
fragile. And I like to just roll my stuff up and toss it in a carry-on. And
okay.
by the way, the carry-on is mostly products, because when you're older, the products take over. It's like my hair is frizzier. I use hormone creams.
I completely
It's
agree.
like, that takes up all the room.
It's a lot to pack. I mean, you want to sort of station it that whatever your houses and homes are, that you have them all there with you. But I always take stuff in the bag because I'm always terrified that I ran out of something somewhere.
Totally. And I think that's the biggest difference between my youth and now.
It's
I used
products.
to like a little bag with an eyeliner, mascara. That was it.
What are your favorite products?
What are my favorite products? Hormone creams, for sure.
From whose?
Hormone replacement therapy. Estrogen is my favorite product.
That I don't do.
My favorite. Well, here's the funny thing. Do you know this hairstylist, Renato Campora?
Yes.
He works with a lot of my clients, and we were in Dubai once, and he needed a suitcase, and I had an extra one, and I packed so I could give him a suitcase. So I just gave it to him, and he was so grateful. He's like, I'm going to send you products. He sent me a huge box of products. Every single one of them was an anti-frizz hair product. I took the hint and zeroed in on one, which is a Frederick Fekkai hair oil, which sounds strong, but that's how frizzy my hair is, and that's my favorite product.
Well, my hair is incredibly frizzy as well. I use Orbe, and I still use Kiehl's Silk Room, which I think is the greatest hair product ever made.
It's funny about Kiehl's. Well, first of all, Orbe's hair, his products are super successful, which is kind of a beautiful legacy. But Kiehl's makes a grapefruit lotion that has been tested, and supposedly people think you smell younger when you wear it. I don't know if that got out, because you cannot get this lotion anymore.
Really?
It's unbeatable. Try it. Yeah.
Do they still make it?
They say they still make it, but every time I go in, because I want to smell younger, they're like, we don't have any, and
so
stop.
It's a grapefruit moisturizer or a grapefruit toner, or
the lotion, moisturizer, body lotion.
I will check and let me know.
Give it a try.
How has styling for other women changed your perception of women or a perception of style?
Well, one of the best things about what I do is I get to go along for the ride of all these amazing press tours and see what they do. And it blows my mind. I mean, the aforementioned Jessica, who's got a company and she's producing movies and all the kids, and it's just what they do is incredibly inspirational. And it's something, or an Oscar tour, for example, like her Oscar tour, she won an Oscar, I think it was 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it's I guess increased my perception of women, because I can't believe how fabulous these people are. Julia's a great example, just like an incredible mother, an incredible wife, an incredible actress, the funniest person I've ever met in my life. And it's just, wow. I get to, see that these, I don't know, just incredible people exist. Women are definitely have superpowers. I don't doubt it, with the ones I work with, for sure.
I think the problem is I think women sometimes beat themselves up or beat each other up. The advantage that men have is, I think men, as delusional as they may be, I think are much more supportive of each other. I think they're much less likely to criticize. No guy would ever go to another guy and would go like, "Where did you get those pants?" Really don't. Or 15 pounds off you wouldn't kill you. Guys don't talk that way.
But do you think it's circumstantial as opposed to innate? Because I think women are pitted against each other much more.
Yes, I agree with you, but I think that's part of the culture, in the sense that I think we set it up that way. We've created a position for women that sort of involves that kind of either cattiness or competition, or there's only so much room at the top, and consequently, women don't always lead with their best foot forward.
Yeah. No, listen, having raised a son and a daughter, the issues along those lines were much greater, in my daughter's life than they were in my son's life. I think with that small sampling, it's an unfortunate reality.
But how did you instill more confidence in her?
She is so confident. I don't think I can get any credit for it, to be honest. I would like to take credit.
Where do you think it came from? Where do you think it came from?
Rob, my husband.
Well, why from him? How from him, I should say.
I don't know. He's the Rob is like, I always like, in relationships, I always like someone who's, I think, better than me. So I found someone better than me. So he gave
Better
them
than
all.
you in what way? I'll fight you on that one. I mean, he's pretty terrific, but how is he better than you? I don't get that one.
I don't know. I have better human overall. I'm a little snarkier. I'm a little, look, oh no, I'm good. I'm good. The stereotypes are, listen, Ivy is great. And I'll tell you one thing she does. She works in a world that in the past she's in tech. And I think, and data, her major was data studies. And I think it was more of a man's world in the past. And she's just right in there and thriving. And I don't know. I don't know how it happened.
Has your perception of yourself changed in any way, or have you gotten stronger, more confident, or more nervous and skittish? How does it work?
I think both. I've gotten stronger and more confident in what I do. Like I think experience counts for a lot, and just the day-to-day of what I do work-wise. I think experience counts for so much and is very helpful. But I'm also, as an older woman, more insecure because there is ageism in our business and young people rule and people love young people. I love young people. I have fun being surrounded by young people, and they're not jaded. So what was the question? I forgot your question. Oh, how if I feel insecure now. So yes, I'm more insecure about that, especially when I hit 60, which is approaching, because how am I going to not think of myself as a 60-year-old? And it's probably going to make me the oldest person in the room, right?
Remember, I'm older than you are. You kind of, it's not like you get used to it. It's just that at a certain point, I think you just have to look and go, okay, what is it I know? What is it I'm sure of? What is it I don't need anymore? I mean, look, the advantage, and as you get older, and you'll see, and especially once you're past 60, is you truly, I mean, I've heard this from Norma Kamali, from Beth Ann Hardison, is at some point you just stop giving a shit. You just don't care. In this, not that, like I said, you don't care about yourself. You don't care about what other people's opinions are, simply because you've hit a certain level of success or satisfaction. In your work life, in your personal life. And I think you stop having to feel the necessity to apologize to anybody. And I think that's the best, for me, that's the best part of getting older. And I've also noticed a different perception of older people by younger people in the last couple of years. I think 7, 8 years ago, younger people would just look right through you. And I think the combination of, let's just say, our political climate and certain things that people took as givens are not, because they were not legislated. They were actually, supplied by the courts, who can also change everything. And I think it's caused younger people to sort of pay more attention to what older people know and where we've been and what we're doing. And consequently, they ask more questions than they used to. And consequently, they want to hear more than they used to. I think on one hand, I think it's important for everybody who's older to have younger friends, simply because they have a different perception of the world. They also have different skills, as in technology, that we don't have. But I think it goes both ways. Let's face it, we've been here a lot longer than they have. We've experienced a lot more than they have, and a lot more sort of face to face than they have. And consequently, we have stories to tell, and I think they're starting to listen. You talk about letting go of fear. Even celebrities have fear. Yeah. Stars are just people who got more well known. So let's say you find a dress that you're mad about and you present it to one of your clients, and the response is, "Oh my God, I could never wear that."
Well, it's a funny thing, because I know the great answer is, yes, go for it, wear it, and then they wear it and it's a happy ending. I don't actually believe in pushing people into dresses. Okay. I present dresses. I actually pride myself on knowing what they're going to love. So when I fit someone, 1 or 2 times, I have a really good sense of that. And so I pretty much bring things that they like from there on out. And of course, sometimes I don't. And I just have to sort of say, I love it, but in the end, I have to love it. She has to love it. And then who cares what the world thinks?
But how do you help a person, I guess, grow in their confidence and in that way? Because you do that. Because I've watched the evolution of the people that you've dressed.
Well, I certainly don't want to take credit for that, but I will tell
Well, you
you
should, but go
that
ahead.
I definitely don't push people into things. I think I should be there to make their lives easier, be a source of comfort, be a source of confidence. I would never refer to anyone's weight, for example, and I never have, or anything, any perceived flaw that they think they have. It's just, that's not what I'm there for. It's almost like a mom-like in a way, I think.
You just actually said an important phrase, which is perceived flaw. And I think sometimes people look, I think people are hard on themselves, men and women. You look in the mirror and you see that thing that for you isn't right, or it didn't used to be there. Was it, and all of a sudden it knocks you down a little bit of a notch. And
Absolutely.
and the point is, how do you realize that that maybe none of us see that perceived flaw?
Oh, okay. It's such a bane of my existence. Everybody has one. Everyone says, I can't show my arms. I can't show
Dude.
my tummy. I can't show whatever it may be. And here's the one thing I will say, because I'm not going to argue with someone because they ultimately have to feel good. When people look at a red carpet photo, and this obviously can apply to anyone in their lives, they're not looking at your arm. They're not breaking it down, your baggy knees. They're not breaking you down into parts. They're looking at the whole. And you were so complimentary to me just now, and you said a beautiful phrase, which I wish would be true, is that you radiate happiness. They're just looking at the overall package, whatever you're giving out. If you think your arms don't look good, they're looking at the whole package. And that's what I look at. Like maybe someone's arms are a little bigger than, I don't know, a supermodel's. But you're not, if the whole package looks good, you're not looking at that. If it's all just, does that make sense? If they're confident and
Look, I'm going to put words in your mouth. Let's go back to that woman, Viola Davis. What you see on that red carpet is somebody who's very comfortable in their own skin, is very comfortable with their own size and their own shape and their own life. And I think that's why Viola is kind of irresistible. When you see someone like Kate Blanchett on a red carpet, probably more than anybody else for me, there's a self-satisfaction that I think comes through from her.
I don't think she cares what anyone else thinks, and she can wear like Lucy, she can wear a potato sack and it'll look
also,
good.
but
And
she
I come into that not at all. That's 100% her.
But I think in terms of what we can learn or what we can take on that, because most people don't walk on a red carpet, the idea is that what pieces of clothing are going to help you with that confidence, and then also where else does that confidence come from?
Well, obviously there are. I mean, people do have broad shoulders, and there's all sorts of tricks. And I think it's really smart to learn what flatters you, right? I mean, that's learn what makes you feel good and stick to those clothes. I really believe in sticking to a uniform pretty much.
You do.
Yes, I have multiples of the same thing, and it just makes life so much easier. I don't want to stress about what I'm wearing every.
Also, I think when you get older too, it's a strong, and I think in life, I think in terms of friendships, where you go and where you travel, a strong edit becomes more important than ever.
Mm-hmm. I love what you just said. I mean, I hate to talk about editing people because it sounds pretty mean, but I do feel like I am super busy and have time for the people that I really, really love, and I really want to take care of them. So that's people. Same goes for clothes. And the same goes for the house. I have an empty nest. They're slightly annoyed because we've been doing so much to the house, but I'm really just cleaning it out and clearing it out. And
okay, we're now at something that I find fascinating. De-kid-proofing your house. Not everybody does that because they leave the bedrooms as like shrines to their children. What is it that you're taking out? What is it that you've decided to sort of reclaim?
Well, there's one room in particular that my son, who plays video games, had literally commandeered. It was a free room, so to speak. It's the guest room, but it has a couch that pulls out. So he had completely taken it over. It was full of boys. It was full of food on the floor. I mean, it is an amazing room.
So what did you turn the room into? I want to know.
It's a parlor? What's the word? It has a TV. It has surround sound.
But for you, what is it for you?
For me, it's where I go for a private phone call. It's heaven for me. It's a room we never had. We had a house full of people, and we still do because I work from home, and I have 4 people who work for me. So it's a haven is what it is.
How is suddenly being alone together different for you and Rob?
It's actually amazing because I really, really like Rob as well as love him, which is great. And I have to tell you, my mantra always has been turn a negative into a positive. And the truth is, I'd rather have them around if they were still little kids. But as adults, they're sort of annoying. And as much as I love them, and I'm just turning a negative into a positive. I would rather have them around. But since they're not, I'm going to go for it. And we go downtown for dinner now, which we never used to do.
If you're good parents, you've invested your whole life in your children. They've been the focus of your attention because that's the way it should be. But I think when they go, what you did with the room, the idea that you got to turn things around because your reality is not the same anymore.
Of course, I'm no longer doing drop off. I mean, it would be insane to be moping. That's for sure. I mean, they're amazing. They're coming home today and tomorrow. Actually,
Right.
I'm super excited about it.
How has it changed your relationship? Or does it, I don't know if the word is actually change, but how does it affect?
Well, so Ivy's super independent, and we've hit more of a groove because I've adjusted the fact that she's an adult. Bennett is, I still have to let go of, trying to parent him too much. So I've got to sort of show him when he comes home that I can, he can walk out of the house and I won't say put on a jacket or whatever the equivalent is.
But you will. But we'll see.
And I'm going to try really hard.
And in terms of you and Rob now, is there a difference in that dynamic?
It's actually been great. We cuddle up on the couch and watch Rachel Maddow every night. It's been great. He's absolutely my best friend. So I'm lucky. I'm definitely lucky that way.
One of the cool things about becoming older is you've had more experiences, but it's understanding how those experiences play on you
Well, let me say this. If you can be older, so I could be miserable about that and say everyone's younger and prettier than me, or I can think, I was just on a photo, like a 4-day commercial that was super hectic and insane. And I really thought they were trying to do a million things at once and blah, blah, blah. Kept changing their minds. And I kept thinking, thank God I'm experienced. I never would have been able to get through this happily. And I did. That's the absolute truth. I honestly think no one without my experience could have gotten through those 4 days. It was that crazy. So that's turning a negative into a positive. I guess I'd rather be younger and prettier, but I'm going to go with what I got, which is vast experience. Thank you.
Because there's so much information coming over social media, coming over your laptop, or coming over your phone. I think sometimes older people forget the power of experience because it's not being talked about in the culture. I think what I'm trying to do here at Happy Grown Up is saying, don't lose your focus on your experience. Don't give up the power of your experience.
That's so true. And don't let those other things overtake. You can choose to focus on the good stuff.
You mentioned having aged along with your clients. In what way has that kind of shaped or influenced how you dress them?
I mean, I've worked with so many of them for so long, Callista in particular. She became a client when Ivy was just born. It's incredibly helpful to have that history of everything she's worn, everything she's tried. We've experimented. We've done all that stuff. I think age has not come into play very much, although I do think my older clients have settled on a style more.
Right.
Not all of them, but some of them have settled more on a style, and the younger ones, think about being that age. You experiment a lot. You're not going to have a completely set style, even though people love that.
But I don't think you should. I think when you're younger, you should just throw it all to the wind.
You wouldn't be a normal 20-something if you weren't experimenting. But it's more just the longevity rather than the age. I have to say, I mean, it's amazing some of these people. I worked with Andy McDowell yesterday. She's not a client, but I worked with her on a L'Oreal campaign, Age Perfect, and I've worked with many people on that campaign, like Jane Fonda and Helen Mirren and people like that, and they are just unbelievable. These women are just, role models. I want to be like all of them. It's incredible.
I think what you just said before about age, there's no denying we're getting older. I mean, look, the word anti-aging is ludicrous because I'm now 5 seconds older than when I started this sentence. You said something before in the sense that it's not so much that it's just not a number, but why are you pushing that number ever present in front of you when you hear people do it all the time? I think you do have to make adjustments as you get older. It doesn't have to be a big deal every single time you get dressed.
Absolutely. I do think some people change as they get older. Some people do get sort of bitter and impatient. And
it's the bitterness about aging that I find such a waste of energy.
Well, it's also the catch-22, because if you are bitter about aging, you become that bitter old person. And if you're not, then you're this. No one else is thinking about your age, is what I really honestly believe. You don't think about it until that person sort of almost tells you to think about it.
That's
for whatever
a great way
reason.
of putting it, actually. I think if you look in the mirror and you do the best version of you.
And the best version of you. I mean, there you go. I was completely inspired by Annie McDowell, who I had just met, because you have to look at my Instagram. She was doing these hysterically amazing yoga poses on set. And I think she's 61. I'm not sure. She's about that age. And it was just like, wow, you're incredibly gorgeous. You clearly do yoga it was unbelievable. It was super inspiring.
People want to pull back or relax, whereas I think you actually have to, in some ways, make more of an effort.
You mean in life in general, or in what you
Life in general,
dress,
also
or...
in looking your best.
Yes, I agree with that. You sort of have to do what it takes. In my case, it's I've got grays now. I have salt and pepper hair, so I've got to do my roots, and it's really, really annoying.
Don't know. How do you decide whether to do your roots or let the gray flag fly?
My plan is when I go fully gray, I will let the gray flag fly. But I might make it whiter. If I don't know what color it would actually be, because it's all about style, and I think it's got to be just the right shade.
Well, I think very often they talk about, I do think that as you get older, your skin does change. And very often the recommendation is to lighten your hair as you get older.
Mm-hmm. My mom did that. My mom started out with really, really dark hair. And then by the time I grew up, it was blonde.
I think it's knowing how to get it done right. And as you get older, okay, if you're going to color your hair, get somebody to show you how to do this. So get a product that does it right.
This applies to literally everything. If you're going to do it right. Are you kidding? If you're going to color your hair, go to a professional or a friend who knows how to do it.
When you're older, you really do have to examine those steps. Not because everybody's watching you, but for your own confidence to look in the mirror and go, okay, this is good for me.
Right.
This works for me.
Absolutely. I mean, I would hope that by the time you get a certain age, you can find what works and stick to it. But it is constantly evolving, and it's work. I mean, everyone should do that little bit of work.
You don't know? Okay, you're an empty nester now. Okay, you and Rob are together. You've had a successful career up till now. Do you see any reason to slow down?
I actually fantasize about retiring. Only because, not because I don't love my job, but because it's always taking me away from things. I missed a friend's wedding recently. It was a surprise wedding. They invited everyone to a party, and I was, as per usual, in London on a photo shoot. I miss a lot of things that I always have, and I'm a little bit tired of that. So I fantasize about retiring. I also love to cook, as you know. I know you love to cook too, and I want to cook more. So, but every time I say it to someone, you know how you also listen to the people who love you and the people who know you? Every time I say it to someone, they say, oh, you're going to be miserable. They always go to that immediately. So I'm listening to that because...
And I would probably tell you that's not the wisest idea. Only because it's about what are the things you value most? And what are the things you value most?
Well, that goes back to what I was saying about finding time for all my friends and making sure I have time for all my friends. So if I'd known that was going to be a wedding, I would have not gone and taken that job. And I did decide to prioritize.
That's what I'm talking about. I think as you get older, I think that need to prioritize, or that need to going back to what matters most to me, becomes...
Yeah, it's come up in my career so many times. I remember a really good friend was getting married right when I finally got a certain very major campaign that I had been wanting to get for a long time. And I literally had to decide between taking that campaign and going to this wedding. And I decided to go to the wedding, and I think about it all the time. Thank God I was there. It was so amazing. We're still good friends. I can, reminisce with her about being there, and And I eventually got that campaign. It took 3 more years, but I eventually got it.
But I think that's kind of the fascination of getting older is you get to make tougher choices that lead to more clean results because I think you know yourself better.
Yes, you're exactly right. And that it was because I knew myself better because I thought, what am I going to think in 5 years? What am I going to regret? And I knew I would regret missing that wedding.
What are the things worth remembering when you make a decision not to retire and to keep on working? Am I going to remember doing this job? And am I going to remember this vacation? Am I going to remember this person I work with? Am I going to remember this friend?
Yeah. I mean, when I think about what I value about my job, it's always people. It's always that I know this person, that I've been a part of this person's life. It's never that magazine shoot or that red carpet look.
If you could impart any piece of wisdom to women as they new age to make themselves feel good about themselves or feel better about themselves, I should say, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to get hormone replacement therapy. I have to say it. But aside from that, I would say be happy and appreciate everything you are in life. And right now, it's what I am. 59, have everything I could possibly want, and I have nothing to complain about. And so I just want to, that's what you have to do because there ain't no going back. So live in the present.
Are you a happy grown-up?
I am a happy grown-up.
Why? What makes you a happy grown-up?
Because I'm super lucky with the people in my life. Just really, really, really lucky. My home base, as I mentioned before. Rob's amazing. My kids are amazing. So everything else is gravy.
Elizabeth Stewart, thank you.
Since this taping, wildfires have devastated Elizabeth's friends and neighbors all across Southern California. Tens of thousands of working people have lost everything except their jobs. To help victims of the flames, Elizabeth has gathered other stylists together to create Chic Relief, a clothing drive so that people can be dressed for their lives. I told you she was really special. If you have any good clothes that you can donate, please email donateclothingla@gmail.com. I repeat, donateclothingla@gmail.com. Chic Relief will also accept donations. When you go to the site, you will see a barcode at the bottom. 100% of all donations will go to victims of the wildfires. Thank you for listening to this edition of The Happy Grown Up. And if you want to continue to be inspired by new aging, please subscribe to us at thehappygrownup.com. Newsletters come out every Tuesday, podcasts wherever you listen to them each Thursday. At The Happy Grown Up, we believe that age is more than just a number. It's the opportunity to have another chance of a lifetime. This is Hal Rubenstein. I look forward to you tuning in next week on The Happy Grown Up.